Garlic taps are great, but they don't come with handles. And there's no way I'm going to put a cheap plastic handle on this nice faucet. I think I'll make a new handle. I have some scrap maple and access to a lathe. I'll start by turning the square maple round. I'm just using a gouge and going by feel. Once it's basically round, I start turning it down to the diameter of the handle. I make several cuts to the depth that I want, and then use the gouge to connect those cuts to get an even diameter across the handle. Next, I'll turn the base end of the handle to match the diameter of the locking nut. I'll also turn a cut at the top of the handle so I know how long it's going to be. The base of the handle is going to be a cone from the outer diameter down to the locking nut. The top end is going to be round, so I'm just using a skew and going by eye and feel to round that end over. I'm tapering the handle from the round end down to a narrow neck, followed by a swell back out to the cone. This is going to be a pretty familiar tool handle shape. With the shape defined, I move to sandpaper, first coarse to remove the tool marks, then finer and finer to get the handle smoother and smoother. I finish with steel wool to make a really smooth finish. Next, I drill and tap the hole for the faucet bolt. I'm just using a regular 3/8 by 16 tap. This maple holds the bolt with no trouble at all. The waste on either end was both protecting the tools and helping me align that drilling. I can take it off now. The round end needs a little more attention to get the waste cut off correctly. I didn't want to flatten that end, so I'm going to use my knife to round it over and then some sandpaper to make that nice and fine. And of course, moving up through the grits, finishing with steel wool to make it look like everything else. And then it's on to finishing. I'm using Birchwood Casey True Oil, which is just a rub-on, rub-in oil. I rub in a couple of fairly heavy coats and leave it to dry in between. Before adding each coat, I use steel wool to remove any imperfections and also to roughen the surface so that the oil sticks better. After the heavier coats, I move on to very thin coats that I apply with lint-free rag. After 7 or 8 coats, everything is done and it's time to let it dry, the final dry. And then I can install. It twists on as expected, the locking nut locks correctly, and I can finally dispense my home carbonated seltzer. Thanks for watching.